Snowflakes danced in the winter air, settling on the rooftops and blanketing the small town of Fayetteville in a hushed stillness. The Lawson family home, nestled at the edge of town, was aglow with the warmth of Christmas spirit. Inside, children's laughter echoed through the halls as they hung stockings by the fireplace. Mary Lawson, mother of 10, watched them with a weary but contented smile. 2 years had passed since the fire. 2 years since her world had turned to smoke and ruin. And 2 years since 5 of her children had vanished without a trace. The night of December 24, 1945, was seared into her memory. The fire had consumed their wooden house in minutes, but the terror of that night still burned in her heart. The official report declared it an accident, faulty wiring, but Mary and her husband, Thomas, knew better. There were too many questions, too many inconsistencies. Where were the bodies of their missing children? Why had they not perished in the flames like the authorities insisted? Why had no remains been found? Thomas, a proud and determined man, had refused to accept the official explanation. He had spent the last 2 years chasing shadows, following tips and whispers that led nowhere. The townsfolk muttered behind his back, calling him obsessed. But Mary understood. She, too, had received the letters. The ones that arrived without a return address, containing cryptic messages and grainy photographs. One, in particular, haunted her, an image of a boy with familiar eyes, dark and solemn like her son William's. Tonight, as the town settled into its Christmas Eve slumber, Thomas sat at the kitchen table, staring at a new letter. The paper trembled in his calloused hands as he read the carefully typed words. "They are not dead. Look to the man in the gray hat." Mary's breath hitched. "Another one?" Thomas nodded. This one was slipped under the door. A cold prickle ran down Mary's spine. The letters had become more frequent, always offering just enough information to stoke the fire of their hope, but never enough to bring real answers. "We should take this to Sheriff Dunham," Mary whispered. Thomas scoffed. "And have him tell us to let it go? Again?" He set the letter down and pressed his fingers against his temples. "I'm tired, Mary. Tired of running into dead ends. Tired of pretending we might ever find them." Mary reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. "They're out there, Thomas. I know it in my heart." A sudden knock at the door sent both their heads snapping up. Thomas grabbed the shotgun leaning against the wall before cautiously approaching the entrance. He hesitated, then swung it open. A man stood in the doorway, shrouded in the dim glow of the porch light. He was older, his face lined with age and secrets. A gray hat sat atop his head. Mary gasped. "Who?" The man removed his hat, his expression grim. "You've been looking for answers. I have them." The man's name was Joseph Carter. He stepped inside, brushing the snow from his coat, his eyes darting around as if he expected to be followed. He refused the chair Thomas offered, instead standing near the window, peering out cautiously. "I don't have much time," he said. "They're watching me." Mary and Thomas exchanged wary glances. "Who's watching you?" Thomas asked. Carter sighed. "The same people who took your children." Mary's heart pounded. "You mean they're alive?" Carter nodded. "They were taken that night. The fire was a cover-up." The words sent a jolt through Mary's body. "Where are they?" Carter hesitated. "I don't know exactly. But I know who's behind it. Powerful men, men who don't want the truth coming out." Thomas clenched his fists. "But why take our children?" Carter looked at them, the weight of his words pressing down on the small kitchen. "Because they weren't just your children. They were valuable to someone else." Silence thickened the air. "Explain," Thomas demanded. Carter hesitated, then reached into his coat and pulled out a folded photograph. He handed it to Mary. She unfolded it with trembling hands. The image was grainy, but clear enough. 5 children stood in a line, older than they had been, but unmistakably hers. Their faces were solemn, their eyes filled with something between fear and resignation. "Oh my God," a sob caught in her throat. "It's them." Thomas took the photo, his jaw tightening. "Where was this taken?" Carter exhaled. "Somewhere south. I believe they were taken out of state. Maybe even Mexico." Thomas turned back to him, his voice low and dangerous. "How do we get them back?" Carter looked out the window once more. "I don't know if you can. These people, they don't let go." The room was silent except for the distant howl of the wind. "What do they want with them?" Mary whispered. Carter's eyes darkened. "There are things worse than death, Mrs. Lawson." A sudden crash outside sent Carter reeling back. His face paled. "I have to go." Thomas grabbed his arm. "Wait, you can't just drop this on us and disappear." Carter wrenched free. "They'll come for me if I stay." He shoved a scrap of paper into Thomas's hand. "If you want answers, go here. Ask for a man named Lyle." Before Thomas could protest, Carter was gone, vanishing into the snow-covered night. The wind swallowed the sound of his hurried footsteps, leaving only the quiet crackling of the fireplace behind. Mary clutched the photograph to her chest, her tears staining its edges. "What do we do?" Thomas unfolded the note. A single address was scrawled in shaky handwriting. He set his jaw. "We go find Lyle." Their journey led them deep into the underbelly of secrets and silence, to abandoned warehouses and back-alley meetings, where whispers of child trafficking, government experiments, and old debts surfaced like ghosts from the past. The truth was tangled, elusive, always just beyond reach. But Thomas and Mary never stopped searching, never stopped believing. And every Christmas Eve, Mary would leave a single candle burning in the window, a beacon for her lost children, hoping that one day, they would find their way home. Some mysteries fade with time. Others only deepen, stretching their shadows across generations. The Lawson children were never found. But somewhere out there, a mother's hope still burned, like a flame that refused to be extinguished.